Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO. Well, thank you for making News Talk KGVO a part of your weekend. We always appreciate that. Certainly appreciate you being a part of Missoula Real Estate Today. And our guest, Paige, has been on the show before. Lee is new to the show. Paige Pavalone, Executive Director, and Lee Allen, the Project Manager for Missoula Works. I welcome you both to the show. And Paige, I'll start with you. We'll do a review. What is Missoula Works and how does it benefit homeowners and or the public in general? Welcome back.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. So Missoula Works is a social enterprise, which is a dual-purpose industry. So we maximize social impact by employing individuals that are considered multi-barrier. So these are folks that might be returning from incarceration. They might be low income or homelessness. We try to work them back into employment. So how we help the real estate company or the real estate industry is as people are selling houses, we're a multifunctional organization. So we're a staffing agency and we also run a general labor crew. And what that general labor crew does, we do junk outs, we do lawn care, lawn cleanup, all kinds of different projects. So if somebody's listing a house or has a place that's going up for sale, we can absolutely come in and tackle all of those different projects to get the place ready for sale or ready to move into.
Right. And on your website, you are described as a subsidiary of the Missoula Interfaith Collaborative. What is that, and what other services do they provide?
MIC does a bunch of different things. So essentially at their core, they do community organizing. So they try to leverage different populations of people throughout Missoula to impact the community. So they're working on combating family homelessness and trying to improve affordable housing. So a lot of those really 10,000-foot the issues that we're dealing with as a community. And MIC, it's Missoula Interfaith Collaborative. So it's, I think, 26 different congregations and businesses that are members of this organization. And all these people buy into what MIC is trying to do, which is move Missoula in a direction of sustainability.
How did they recruit that many members? That sounds like a lot to me. I suppose that has been built up over the few years that it's been in operation. But how did they find and retain all of those good folks?
So MIC, they've been around for about 9 years now. Yeah. So, and Casey Dunning, who's the executive director, I mean, he was on the ground, boots on the ground, just like trying to recruit different congregations and businesses. And it's not just congregations, but it's across all denominations. So it's like Catholic, Presbyterian, Episcopalian. ERA Lambros was a part of the organization as well. And everybody just participates. And MIC also runs Family Promise, which is a homeless shelter for intact families in Missoula here. So
you talked about a little bit about some of the people you try to serve to find employment and get them on the team. But beyond that, what are some of the other differences between Missoula Works and, say, the Missoula Job Service or private personnel agencies?
Yeah, there is nothing like Missoula Works in Missoula. We are the only people that do what we do. So I said before, we're a social enterprise. So we are a staffing agency, and when we first got started off as a staffing agency, it was really difficult for us to get people into jobs. So we had a ton of people coming in looking for work, but we just didn't have the community partnerships to plug them into different positions. So at that point, we said, well, gosh, what are we going to do? These people need work. Like, they're desperate for work. They're knocking on our doors every single day, coming back, calling us. And we said, well, we're insured to do all these different things. And we had thousands of people at our fingertips through MIC. And we just started cold calling people. We said, we're going to start our own separate enterprise within Missoula Works and let these people get out, because they were coming in. They're like, I know how to paint houses. I know how to pull weeds.
Right, yeah.
So we leveraged what job skills and job sets they already had and put that into action. And that's how we kept hearing ourselves on the phone, like, yeah, we can get that done, Mrs. Robinson. We can get that done, get it done. And that's how Get It Done kind of just forged naturally out of us saying that to people. But we literally we threw a broad net and built off of what job skills people came with us. And then that's turned into a massive part of our business. And it works beautifully with our staffing agency in that people can incubate on the Get It Done crew. And we can really assess and develop their job skills as they start off, and then they transition out of Get It Done into permanent employment, doing what they want to do, for full-time a career opportunity.
Excellent. I'll let you swing the microphone over there to Lee and remind everybody you're listening to Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests, Paige Pavalone and Lee Allen with Missoula Works. And Lee, since you're new to the program, we welcome you and ask you what are all the duties, what all does a project manager guy have to do?
A little bit of everything.
I'm sure.
So my duties as a project manager is when a customer or potential client calls, I will meet with them, go out to their residence or business, and we will go over the scope of work that they need to have done. And once we go over the scope of work, I usually go back to the office and I develop a bid, which will consist of, if it's material cost, labor, things like that. And if a bid is accepted, I put our labor crews out into the field to do the work. And I manage over the labor crews while they're doing the work.
What drew you to Missoula Works? What interested you in that position?
Project managing.
Yeah.
I have a history of project managing. I worked for a landscape company for several years as their landscape bidder and manager. The culture of Missoula Works, I like what we're doing.
Sure.
And, the management part, definitely.
You folks have a talent pool of workers who have, as Paige pointed out, faced some challenges along their way. And how do you go about finding each other?
So we recruit from a lot of different places throughout the community. So the Pavalone Center, the food bank, we've got places all across town, and just try to stay in constant contact with different folks that can make a direct handoff to Missoula Works. So we're constantly talking with probation and parole, the police department, the Pavalone Center, the Salvation Army, and just there's so many different places where we can leverage employees.
How has coronavirus? Naturally, I have to bring that up. How has that impacted the way you've been able to provide services at Missoula Works?
I think everybody's probably in the same boat as us. Coronavirus just crushed us for a few months. I mean, fiscally, it was brutal. Right in the beginning, in probably March, we were recruiting for several different companies, and especially in the hospitality and hotel industries, they said, we can't have you recruit for us anymore because we're laying off our own staff. So we it was brutal. So we projected about $100,000 loss in Q2 of this year, so we took a big hit in our staffing side. But however, people were home and people were still keeping Get It Done super, super busy. So Get It Done totally just stepped up, and we just ramped up the services that we were offering. And we did it in a safe way. We did safety stand downs where everybody stops what they're doing and making sure, are you sanitizing tools as you're passing them back and forth? Sanitize in, sanitize out. Wear a mask as long as it's safe and socially distanced. So we're really trying to not be complacent with that, but Get It Done, thankfully, has been super successful throughout coronavirus. But it was our staffing side that really took a hit. Yeah,
that was a really smart move, though, because let's face it, with more people staying at home, if they're willing to have somebody come to their home to perform things like projects around the house, now you've got all these people staying at home and spending a lot more time spending at home, and now they're looking over in the corner, or they're looking in the yard.
I know.
Or they're looking at the cracked window, things like that.
Yep.
So I could see where, not necessarily, I don't want to say it was a benefit, but I could see where you made services or retained services available that could serve those kinds of needs. Probably drove the project manager crazy, for a while. But you were able to continue offering services that way.
For sure. And then Lee's new to the program, and he just brings a whole different set of skills that it just really brought us to the next level as far as landscape design and project design. So
nice. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. And our guests, Paige Pavalone and Lee Allen with Missoula Works, Paige Executive Director and Lee Project Manager. And since we are on a show sponsored by Diane Beck of Windermere, where does what you offer intersect with real estate agencies?
We often go to different real estate agents and talk about the services that we offer. It's a really natural niche for us because the projects that we do, we have the capacity to do small projects in a really fast turnaround. So people can call us a day ahead of time, and we hear a lot from real estate agents like, this guy just sold his house and they left a bunch of junk on the property, right? So old tractors or, maybe they were a hoarder or whatever. We can dispatch a team up there really quickly, probably within the next couple of days, and just gut the house and get it back to where it needs to be. We can do interior painting, exterior painting. If the lawn hasn't been paid attention to in a long time, we can trim the lawn back and throw down new mulch and just make the place look really presentable as people transition in. So real estate agents are a natural fit for us, and we're always looking to work and collaborate with different realtors in town.
Now, have you found any abandoned treasures that you were able to monetize in any way?
We have a guy on our team, and we're constantly telling him, like, you got to leave that stuff. Because he just brings stuff back, as people are throwing it out for the trash. And he's always looking for treasures. But, yeah, most of the stuff, and we try to keep it out of the landfill as much as possible. So we'll recycle things.
Absolutely.
Take them to donation warehouse or home resource, Pacific Steel. We do try to recycle stuff as much as possible. And it also saves the customer money because they don't have to pay for the tons that are going into the dump.
Lee, Paige was talking about the term, the name "Get It Done" crew. That just sort of evolved, but why you chose that name, and what is the statement you're trying to make?
I think the statement is that we can get it done. Pretty cool. Like Paige,
sense.
Like Paige said, we have the ability to schedule work and get it done pretty quickly. A lot of our projects are smaller projects. And if we do get larger projects, we have the ability to pull more people in to get smaller projects done in between the bigger projects.
Is there a lot of preliminary work on your end? Do you have to go see, not necessarily do an estimate, but do you kind of, if somebody contacts you and says, I have this that I'd like to have your crew work on, is that something you have to be the lead guy and get out there before you really start to take on a project? I mean, you have to know how many people, what the skill set is required, things like that.
It all depends on what the project is. If it's a junk out, they can give us an idea of how many rooms there are, how many people they want. We can do it that way. If it's a landscape project, I definitely have to bid those.
Right.
Anything that has a material cost or a high labor cost, it's always better to give the customer a bid so they know exactly what they're looking at for pricing.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have to determine, personnel, who's going to be the best fit for that. The methods you use to determine the most qualified candidates for each individual Get It Done crew, how do you go about that?
Yep. So I do have Todd, who is our foreman. He usually will be on the more technical jobs, and I'm always in the field with the technical jobs also.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so you kind of split the duties as
exactly.
need be. And Paige, you have a program. I wanted you to talk about this. I kind of skipped over, but I didn't want to miss this. Tell us about the Family Promise Shelter, what services that provides, and who's eligible to stay there.
So Family Promise is the only shelter in Missoula that takes intact families, so moms, dads, and children. And there's a huge problem with family homelessness in Missoula, and there's upwards of 300 to 400 children in our community that are sleeping outside, chronically homeless. So they're either sleeping in cars, sleeping in tents, or couch surfing. So this was identified as a big problem a long time ago. And Family Promise is a program that's managed through MIC. And what they do, we've got a day center, which is actually right down the road here on South Avenue. Oh. So it's just like a 2-level house, but it's not large enough for the families to sleep there in the night. So they go there in the day, and they can shower and prepare lunch and do house hunting and job searching and work with their caseworker. But in the evenings, they go to different congregations every single week. So they're sleeping literally in churches, in the office, in offices, and different spaces throughout any congregation in town. And there's, I believe, 18 different support churches or congregations around town. But every single week, they have to move from church to church to church with their families. So I don't know this resonates with me because, and Lee as well, I'm sure, getting a kid up or a baby up at 6 o'clock in the morning and packing them up and schlepping all their stuff back to the day center, it's really taxing on them, I'm sure, emotionally. So just not having that place to go. So the YWCA and MIC collaborated, and they're developing. I'm sure you've heard about it. The Family Housing Center, which is over by 3rd Street.
I'm familiar. I drive by it to and from work every day. It's right next to one of my good friends' businesses, Marshy's Nursery. So, I have a little bit of knowledge of that.
So this is going to help fix the problem, and it's going to serve a lot more families, and it's going to combine the domestic violence women's shelter with the Family Promise program, and it's going to be like a one-stop shop facility where caseworkers can be there, and then the families don't have to move. They don't have to leave every single night and be transported all over town. They can just stay there. So the great thing about MIC and Missoula Works, all of our proceeds go directly back to Family Promise. So that's that's another huge stand apart from us, is nobody's buying a boat or getting rich off of what we do.
Right.
All of the proceeds go directly back to the programs that we're running in our community.
You sound very excited about that shelter. Have you been given any indication as to when that might be available to people?
I think next spring.
Okay.
I believe I could be wrong, but it's a huge undertaking, and it was. It's great for our community. It really is. Like, it's a need that we have to address. We can't ignore kids sleeping in cars. It's not acceptable, you know? So that's what really energizes a lot of people that work with us, so we can work towards that effort.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with it, folks, you really should drive by. It's right on 3rd Street. It's next to Marshy's Nursery and a couple blocks west of the Good Food Store. It's real easy to see what that something is going on there, and we certainly wish them well and a lot of success on that. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest, Paige Pavalone, Executive Director, and Lee Allen, Project Manager for Missoula Works. Do you have programs in place at Missoula Works to help people prepare to be placed, temporary or permanent positions? How do you help them on that end?
Totally. So operationally, as people come into Missoula Works, we collect all kinds of demographic information from them. Yeah. And our program we're still always growing it, and we're constantly trying to redesign and see what's working. But as people come in, we gauge how job ready they are. So some folks will come in and they might be sleeping in Greeno Park and they haven't had a shower in 3 months, you know, and that's the reality. They're sleeping outside. So are they actually ready to take a full-time job the next day? No, that won't be successful. Right. So we assess where they are. We do an intake and assessment as soon as they walk in the door and identify what needs they have to have met to start transitioning into work. And sometimes folks are just not job ready. And then sometimes folks come in and they have very low barriers. So we work with everybody. So we do a job readiness assessment every single week where we have a 19 criteria that we ask them. And it gauges how they're doing on the job as we transition them in. Like when you take criticism from a supervisor, how do you respond to that? How do you respond to working with somebody who might be an annoying coworker? And so we just ask them to be honest with themselves and answer the questions like, and they score 1 to 4, 4 being the most job ready. So all of us in this room are probably 4s. You know, we're pretty adaptable to different jobs and different circumstances. A person who is a 1 might have a lot of barriers in place that would inhibit their ability to go to work. So they might not have transportation, a driver's license, might be sleeping outside. So everything that we do, the minute they walk in the door, whether they're working or not, they're getting job coaches. They're getting job coached through us. And then we work with a bunch of different other nonprofits throughout the community just to try to pad the holes in their boat, so to speak. So we work with Teen Challenge, and they give us vouchers if somebody needs boots. Often we hear about somebody like, my bike got stolen, my backpack got stolen, and all my identification was in it, and all my clothes are in it. So trying to get that stuff back and keep some semblance of continuity with what they have. But we lean on a lot of different other organizations through town to help them because we don't have a clothing closet at Missoula Works, which one day I want to have, you know, like go pick out a size 11 pair of boots and go to work, you know.
Yeah.
That's my vision, but we're not there yet. So we have to lean on a lot of different agencies for their support as well.
Is it hard to give them that score of 1 to 4? You've probably done it enough now that you know, early in the process, you can kind of start to get a feel for that, but yet still you've got to assign a number, and that number is kind of important.
It is. And, you know, it's not the way we deliver it to them. It's more for us and being able to identify what's not working. And if they're having disruptions on the job, being able to counsel them through that. If there's tardiness or absentees or no call, no show, we have to sit down and counsel them on that. And the crew leads and the project managers on Get It Done, they're working really hand in hand with the folks and are able to relay back like how a person's doing on a job.
Right. Do you see a lot of common threads among the prospective employees who've turned to you in the stories they have to tell as to why they've found their way to Missoula Works? You
wouldn't believe the stories that people come into our office and unpack to us. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to me, the difficulties and the trials and tribulations people have experienced, and it will bring you to your knees sometimes. Yeah. It just breaks your heart. But yeah, I mean, sometimes they know that we're just there to serve them. There's other staffing agencies in town, but we're so different because we're meeting them right where they are. You know, like we're building relationships with these people because they need to. Having that sense of camaraderie and having a sense of family and community is pivotal for people. And they might be sleeping outside, they might be sleeping in a car, but it's just every day we tell them just like, come to work, just come back tomorrow. Don't drink. Here's money. Don't buy booze. Don't buy drugs, you know? And then having them come back, it's powerful. You know, it's the relationships that are developed are super great.
And besides the scoring process, other things that you use to determine who likely candidates are, how they qualify, and importantly, earn your trust as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you get burned because a lot of folks, if they've experienced incarceration, they're in survival mode, so they're going to do what they have to do to survive. So just trying to keep 2 feet in the bucket and make sure that you got eyes all over the place and you're not going to be fooled. Lee and I come from histories where you can't kid a kidder, so sometimes we can. I identify who's not playing the game. So I think trying to develop that trust with people, and then, just trust them to do the right thing. And as they develop those skills, it becomes really evident. The cream rises to the top. The people that are want to work and they want to change and they want to change their life, they're the ones that are really successful in our program.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests, Paige Pavalone and Lee Allen with Missoula Works. Also want to thank some of Diane's marketing partners that help bring you Missoula Real Estate Today every weekend here on News Talk KGVO. Rob Fleming of Mann Mortgage, Miles Link of Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. Paige, I think you've been around, I want to say about 4 years. Am I?
Yeah, 4 years.
In what areas do you feel you've grown and made improvements in that time span?
Oh my gosh, we've had so many growing pains. But I think especially now, this is our strongest year, and every year we've grown fiscally. The number of people that we've served. There's always attention that needs to be paid to developing the organization inside, so we're adequately serving people. But at the same time, we want to deliver a great product to our customers. It's really important to us that we have a good reputation and that the people that are hiring Missoula Works and Get It Done have a really excellent experience. And if they don't, we want to hear about it, and we want to rectify that for sure. I think now, especially our Get It Done crew has just moved marks. I mean, I was at one point driving lawnmowers around in the back of my car and dropping them off. That was the service we were offering, but it gave somebody a job, right? And it worked. And right now we've got 2 trucks in operation, sometimes 2 to 3 crews. We've got a big hydraulic trailer. We've got a ton of equipment with the help of a bunch of different donors around town. So it's grown markedly. And it's just really exciting to see the direction that we're going and the successes and milestones that we're hitting every year.
Very nice. I don't know if this falls under all the other duties the project manager guy does, but what about pricing for services? How is that all set? Lee, you want to tackle that one?
So we do have a labor hour, or per hour. It's $45 per man, and that would come out to $90 an hour per 2 men on a job. Our house cleaning rate is $35 an hour. But our flat rate is $45 an hour for any kind of maintenance.
Right.
Our mows are a little bit different. It depends on the size of the yard.
Sure.
But for our landscape projects, our painting and things like that, it goes off of a $45 an hour.
Right. All right. So overall, you try to keep that fairly simple, and it sounds like you keep it fairly reasonable as far as I can tell.
Yeah. I mean, I have years and years of bidding. I've bid $100,000 projects, so I keep my bids really tight. They're really fair, really tight. Like Paige said, we're not out to make a lot of money. We're out just to cover our operational costs, to keep these guys working, and things like that.
Okay.
Yep.
You put together a bid really, really fast, or do you take your time a little bit so the customer thinks, oh, he's really thinking about this? I mean,
I've done it for so long now, I can put a bid together in 20 minutes, or even in the truck if I have to.
20 minutes? I think, wow, that's pretty good. He's taking that much time on my job.
Well, it depends on the size of the job, of course. We do a lot of smaller jobs. If it's a really technical job, a day.
Yeah.
But most of the time I can do them fairly quickly.
Is that still fun to do for somebody with your background? Sounds like you got a lot of
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. Customer satisfaction, that's obviously very, very important. That's how you get referrals, earn trust for repeat jobs. Do you feel that's a pretty strong suit right now at Missoula Works?
Yeah, quality of work is what we strive for. You won't get, so if you call Missoula Works, you'll get the same quality of work you would get from a regular landscape maintenance company. The quality of work shouldn't be any different than that. And if, like we say, if there's a problem, we always tell the customers to make sure that they get a hold of us to let us know so we can fix any problems.
Right. Are you pretty happy with the fact that you don't get a lot of that, negative dissatisfaction, people calling? If people aren't calling you back and say, hey, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, then I would say you're probably doing your job.
Yeah, very few calls have I got since I've been project manager.
Yeah. All right. Both of you can answer this one if you want. Success stories. Anything you can share about team members that have come to you for help that you found especially rewarding? Paige, I guess you want to go first on that one?
Sure, yeah. I think it's a person that you and I know in common, actually. He wanted me to tell you hello. I'll tell you his name after. But he came, there was a couple that came to our organization. They were both staying at the Pavalone Center. They got deep into drugs, using drugs, and CPS came and took their children from them, and they lost their house. So they were at the Pavalone Center, sleeping in separate houses. And so they were staying at the PAV, volunteering at the PAV, and they were like brand new sober. He was in a crisis house. He was suicidal. Absolutely hit rock bottom.
Yeah. Could anything else go wrong?
Totally. Yeah. So he came into my office, and this is like probably 3 years ago, and he was like crouched next to my desk, and he's just like, I've been a car mechanic for 30 years. I know how to do this. And the same thing, like just like listing off their skill sets. And I was like, well, I don't have anything right now, but, keep coming back. And he kept coming back every single day looking for work. And we plugged him and his wife on. They got sober. They got into Family Promise. They were reunited with their children because they were able to have shelter at Family Promise. And fast forward 2 years later, he's a crew lead for us. And he's still sober. And now they live in a house over in Target Range, and they have all their kids in their house. A beautiful ranch style home. They're both working round the clock. They're workhorses, and they're staying sober, and they work on their sobriety, and they work on their commitment. They volunteer tonight. They're volunteering at Family Promise, and they're hosting overnights. So it's like their contribution back to the organization that helped them get to where they are today. Yeah. I mean, that is the best success story that we have. And we have little girls the same age, and they're best buddies. They're both 6-year-olds, and they're just like two peas in a pod. So I'm really, really proud of them and where they've come, and they're like family to me. So yeah.
Lee, that's a pretty tough one to follow there. But how about you? Anything that you found especially rewarding in your time with Missoula Works?
I think it's just watching people grow. Guys who will come in sometimes and they don't have the best work ethic at first, and over a few weeks you see them start to take lead roles on projects. So that definitely is a plus.
Sure.
And it feels good to see that.
Anytime you can get an employee to kind of take ownership
in
a project, that's a win, isn't it?
Yes, because a lot of times when these people are out of work for a certain amount of time, the 9 to 5 shift work that we're used to, they're not used to working that. So they have to kind of get over that hurdle first. And so you watch them get over that hurdle, and then you watch them slowly take, like I said, lead positions on jobs, and it's just rewarding to watch that. And you can see the smile on their face, and they're proud when they do that.
Oh, that's great. Volunteer programs. How can listeners get involved to help Missoula Works help others?
Oh, there's so many opportunities to volunteer. First of all, with Missoula Works, we're always looking for advocates, job advocates, and housing advocates. As people come to MIC Missoula Works, we run a bunch of different programs. We've got the Housing Advocate Network, we've got Family Promise, and we've got Missoula Works. So someone to like jump in and do like a couple hours a week and walk alongside of people and support them as they develop job skills, as they're looking for housing. We're always looking for hosts for Family Promise. That's completely volunteer run. Talk about like an intrinsic organization. There's like hundreds of volunteers that come to the table to make Family Promise run. People that prepare the meals, people that stay overnight. Yeah. Those are all volunteer run. Going to the supermarket and, collaborating a meal for 15 people with kids, and one celiac and one doesn't like, chicken nuggets or whatever. So they really work hard. So there's always capacity to volunteer. So we would just ask folks, just give us a call and tell us what you're interested in, and we can find something for you to do. And that's the beauty of nonprofits.
And believe it or not, we're out of time other than to let us know how we get a hold of Missoula Works.
You can go to www.missoulaworks.com, or you can call us at 926-3400.
Paige Pavalone and Lee Allen with Missoula Works on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere. A pleasure as always. Thank you for coming in. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. Contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.